I am Tamima and this is Real Talk. Tonight, we get real on an alarming issue affecting countless of young people across the country of Kenya. My guests tonight on the show are saying that they have struggled with depression. For some, they have survived suicide, and they're going to be getting candid and sharing their struggles with us on tonight's show. Welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm Nick. I think people commit suicide because of frustrations in life. You get frustrated and you don't know what to do, and then you just end up giving your life up because you cannot do anything else.
Majina, mimi naitwa Christopher Waweru Murigo, na watu wanafikiria kujua kwa kutojiamini wao wenyewe. Mtu anaona ati yeye ni mbule.
Mimi kwa majina naitwa Bernard Ongira Mbugu ama Baba Derek. Maoni yangu, mtu huamua kujiua, unajua maisha inapokuwa na ugumu, mtu anaona saa nyingine maisha imemlemea, alafu anaona ni heri nichukue hatua ya kuondoa uhai wangu, lakini sio mzuri.
Hataki kufanya kazi, yani anataka tu usaidizi kutoka kwa watu au kwa serikali. Huyu mtu hatajisaidia, na ndio mwisho anafikiria kwenda kujiua au kufanya mambo isiyofaa.
Hata kama wengi wetu tunaumilia kiona maisha kama ya uchumi wa Kenya vile inapeleka wananchi, wanaumilia tu, lakini haifai mtu utoke uende ujiue. Sasa unajua nini? Sasa ukijiua na uko na kama familia, tuseme umefika na bibi kama na watoto 5, 4, alafu uende ujiue wewe mwenyewe, sasa unaachia familia, nani atawalinda? Na maisha, unajua maisha ya Kenya imekuwa ngumu, ndio sababu unaona mtu anaamua juu maisha imeenda juu, vitu bei iko juu, kila kitu kiko juu, ukienda upande wa fare, ukienda kazi hakuna, ndio inapata hiyo mambo ya kujua inapatikana, lakini tunawaomba na wasijaribu.
My first guest is Phil Love Mwangale. Phil is, again, a young person who has struggled with mental health, depression as well. Phil is in studio with us tonight to share his story. Phil, hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Feeling the love?
Yeah, I love it, being here.
Okay, so you have a very beautifully tragic story in a lot of ways. And as a result of that, you've struggled with depression. And I believe it's an issue that you're still struggling with to date. So maybe let's walk me backwards. Tell me a bit about yourself, Phil.
I was start like this. There's a little bit of confusion with my identity because I came from a political background. And I was born in New York City. My mom was a mother to only me, and I lived, I traveled a lot.
So your mom is American,
yeah,
but you have roots in Kenya in that your dad was somebody who was very prominent at some point on the Kenyan political scene.
Sure.
So was your dad in your life as a child?
Yeah, he was there when I was 5 years old. He used to visit us, and he used to travel. We used to travel, see him, until I was about 10 years old. And I just didn't, I could just hear from him, but I never saw him.
So he wasn't involved on a daily basis, but you had a relationship.
Yeah.
You met him, you knew who he was, and as a result of that, you got to travel to Kenya. Did you meet his side of the family in Kenya?
Just be honest, honestly speaking, I didn't get to know. I got to know about only a half-brother who happens to be mixed race in the United States when we were living. That's the only person I ever got to know.
So to date, have you met any of your father's side of the family?
Yeah, I did. I did. I was at the, I've seen them a couple of times. I interacted with them. We had conversation. I've been to functions with them. But I wouldn't say we had like a really candid talk with them.
So do you consider yourself as having a relationship with that side of the family?
I would say no. Because empathetically, we don't relate though. We just relate. I wouldn't say we have any connection at all. There's a little bit of secrecy, but because when my father died, I was a little boy. I didn't get to know what was going on.
What about your mother?
My mom passed on before my dad.
How old were you then?
About 9.
So then what happened? Who took you in?
Well, I was living with my grandma. She was in Texas. Now, my mom passed on. Then my father talked to me over the phone. So I happened to travel back and forth, and my grandma had to move into, she had to travel out of the place. At that particular point, when my grandma was not there, they wanted me to go back to my dad.
That's now, come back to Kenya now.
Yeah, because they felt that I needed connection with him. And I was losing it because I didn't have a father figure. So he didn't want me to get to know exactly what's going on. He wanted to keep it from me. So I was in the middle of all this. And the family on this side was like, you need to get back to your roots. And I felt that I was just in the middle of the struggle. It was cold, I had to sleep. I mean, it was crazy.
Your mother's side of the family felt that your father should have been the one to now take care of you. Nobody wanted the responsibility.
All right, cool. This is how it happens. In the United States, polygamy is not really considered, it's not accepted. But in Africa, per se, I don't know if it's accepted or not. It's kind of weird for people there. So what happened was, I don't really know the story behind everything, but I just found myself in the world, and I was just tossed right, left, and center, so I didn't know where I belonged.
Okay.
Yeah. I lost identity. I didn't know, and up to this date, I still don't really know where I belong.
So at what point did you leave the United States to come to Kenya?
I spoke to an uncle who happened to be a distant uncle. He called me. He called my grandma. Then he called me and told me that I should pay a visit of Papa's dad, and I had to travel.
How old were you then?
10 or 11.
That's a very short time after your mom had passed away. Two tragedies in a very short span of time. So you traveled to Kenya for your dad's funeral, and then what next?
The worst part is I didn't even know where to go. So he had somebody that he actually assigned to bring me forth with. And when I got here, this person didn't want to let me know about exactly what was going on. So what happened was, there's somebody who was assigned by my father to guide me to a place that I had to stay for a couple of days. And at that point, I had to live with a cousin, and then I was brought to the funeral, and I lived somewhere. I mean, I was not really accepted fully, but I just happened to meet all these people, and they just let me in.
So there you are, 11 years old, you've just buried your father. Do you then, what happened next? Did you go back home to the United States? Did you stay in Kenya?
Well, my half-brother, like I told you, that when I met in California, we happened to meet at the funeral, and we had a long plan. For a while, we went back to California, Los Angeles, and we were actually staying together for a couple of months. We stayed there. Did
you inherit anything from your father?
No, I didn't.
So the family locked you out completely, knowing fully that you're his son?
They didn't quite lock me out. I was too little to own anything.
Did he have another wife, other children perhaps?
Yeah.
And they were aware of your existence?
Yeah.
And then, so you stayed there for how long in LA?
Well, I was there for like 3 years. Then I traveled to South Africa. Then I came back to Kenya. Then I went back to California.
Who was raising you at that time?
My brother, but not really, because also he was relatively young to raise a child. I was just staying with one of the people that I lived with. So it happened so fast. My mom, I never grieved my mom's death. My father, I'm in the funeral, I'm being tossed around. I meet all these politicians, and then I go back to California. It's just like, I kind of like lost it a little bit.
So then, through all that, were you able to finish school?
I didn't finish school properly, because I hopped in from different school to different school to different school. And there's a part where my brother actually wasn't around for a while, because he had to travel. So I happened to just be, just anywhere. I was just hanging around.
Was anybody paying for your education at that point?
My brother, but not fully.
Not fully.
Yeah.
So there are bouts whereby you couldn't go to school because the fee hadn't been paid.
Yeah.
So did you finish?
I missed school even before that.
So you never graduated from high school?
I graduated myself. I worked for myself.
Okay.
At the right age, I got back to school. I just had to do it for myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you struggle with depression.
All right.
At what age did you discover that this is an issue that you're really struggling with, that you're depressed?
I guess I was around in my teens, my pre-teens though, but I realized I didn't like people around. I was always by myself. I love reading, that's my thing. I love music. I used to listen to rock and roll, hip hop, R&B, anything that's inspired, neo soul. So I was just to hang out myself. I didn't like people not that I didn't like them, but I didn't feel like I need to be next to people because I was like, I felt rejected. So I feel like I was different, you know?
Yeah,
and I didn't feel like I belonged in America because technically speaking at that time, you feel like, you know, I came from somewhere else. So you're just lost, you know.
So you were the Kenyan American boy in America?
I don't even say that. I just think pretty much from Africa. I don't really consider anybody African American. That doesn't make sense to me.
So at what point did you come to live in Kenya fully? At what age?
Well, I didn't come to live in Kenya.
Or rather, how are you in Kenya today?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
At some point after I went through the bout of depression, I realized it doesn't matter where you at, you can make heaven anywhere. I felt that a lot of people, especially with the statistics in this country, there's a lot of stuff going on. And when I studied a lot about the political science and I understand the sociology and all that and what's really going on, I think that I'm here to, you know, guide people. I felt that I need people to understand that a lot of people who go through the same bouts that I go through can also achieve anything. So I felt that I wouldn't say I belong. This is kind of weird. I don't think I belong anywhere in the world.
And that for you, you mentioned, is part of the pain that you're constantly dealing with because you're struggling to figure out, like you've said, where do I belong?
Yeah, I don't think any human being belongs anywhere.
So right now you're living in Kenya. What made you make a choice to live in Kenya?
I don't think I'm actually living here because apparently I travel a lot. I'm a businessman right now. So I wouldn't say I'm living here. I'm just here for a particular reason. I might be out any time though.
Do you still communicate with your family back in the United States?
Well, I do sometimes though, but not a lot though. Yeah.
So if today I asked you to fill out a document, a form, and we came across the section for nationality, what would you fill in?
I would just put Kenyan. But really, I wouldn't believe that I belong anywhere. Because honestly speaking, I was raised in a different country. I was raised by one parent. I don't even understand what's going on in the cultures. I do just come across it, but I wouldn't feel entitled to anything. And I don't believe there's anything like African American.
So we also have a counselor with us in studio today, Dr. Scholastica Kariuki. She's a senior lecturer and has a background in educational psychology as well. She teaches at the Daystar University and deals a lot with issues of mental health, and especially those that are affecting young people in particular. So Dr. Scholastica is with us in studio, and I'm just going to be roping her into this conversation right about now. Hello, Dr. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
So you've had the young man talk about his background, his history, and the source of his pain, which for him by and large is identity. What could you say to Phil?
Yeah, thank you. I first of all feel his pain coming from an identity crisis, not sure where he belongs, not knowing who really is the father, not interacting with the parents as he would, not even being sure where he's living now is home or not. Definitely that would cause a lot of pain. But quickly I would say all pain can be overcome, definitely, and with help, yeah.
So Phil, do you believe that you can overcome your pain?
I believe I overcame it a long time ago.
Okay.
Like I did go through some stuff, and I'm a better man right now. I'm doing big things. I'm writing books. I'm motivational speaking to people. I never got into drugs. I never ever got into any kind of drug. That's true. Because my mom taught me how to, she never told me what to do, don't do that. She just I never saw that in her, and I never got into any drug. Anything is a drug, even sugar, if you abuse it. So I believe that my pain is good because it makes you stronger, but you can overcome it, but you don't have to, you can learn how to deal with it.
Okay. We'll be taking a very quick break. When we come back, still some more guests will be sharing their struggles with us when it comes to mental health, depression, and for some, even surviving suicide. Don't go too far. Welcome back to Real Talk. Remember, tonight we are getting real on mental health. This is an issue that is definitely affecting a lot of youth in Kenya, and you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalkWithTamima on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Let us know your views, comments, and questions. Is this an issue that you're struggling with? This could be the platform where perhaps we get to help you, or at least assist you on where you can get help to deal with this issue. And right now I want to introduce my next guest, who is Michelle Gitao. So Michelle is 26 years old, and she's dealing with depression as well. And for Michelle, it's gone a bit further because she's reached a stage where she has, in the past, self-harmed. So she's here in studio with us, and she's going to be sharing her story with us. Michelle, how are you?
I'm very fine. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So tell me about your life story. Why do you think you are in pain?
I can't really pinpoint where it started from, possibly in campus. Trying to figure out who I was, where I'm going, and things like that. But I think the peak of it all came after campus, you know, when you have all these expectations and life doesn't exactly work out the way you wish it would work out. And then I think that's where now it just became chaotic and
So when did you start self-harming?
Maybe about 2 years ago.
When you were 24?
Yeah.
So had you cleared campus by then, or you were still in campus?
I had.
Okay. So what sort of self-harming were you doing to yourself?
See, the thing about depression is that at times the emotional pain is really overbearing, like it's too much. So you wish you'd feel something else that is not emotional, something that you can feel physically. So at that point, I played around with razor blades a lot.
What do you mean played around with razor blades?
Well, I cut myself a couple of times.
Where were you doing
more than
the
a couple
cutting?
of times. My arms.
Okay. Do you still have those marks to date? Is that why you're wearing the long-sleeved top? To hide the marks?
Okay, it's a good thing my skin heals pretty well, so I can hack wearing short-sleeved stuff, but for the longest time, last year, maybe the previous year, I used to hide my arms.
So you're saying that for you, really, the depression came to the forefront when you were a young adult in campus. So previously in your childhood, you never had any bouts of this, looking back now?
Now knowing what I know, I do believe I felt sad then, but I didn't know it was depression.
What made you feel sad? And at what age were you feeling sad?
I don't know. I can pinpoint various times in high school. In primary school, not as much, but in high school, yes. Yes, and then campus, it just started escalating and all that.
So maybe let's start from the earliest point you've mentioned, primary school. So what was making you feel sad then?
I don't know, I just used to feel different. I couldn't pinpoint how different,
Were you being bullied in school?
No, not really.
Okay. So were you a quiet child?
I was a quiet child,
Okay. So, and let's look at your family setup. Are you an only child?
No.
How many are you in your family?
3.
3. First one or last one?
First one.
Oh, you're the first one. Okay. And looking at the home setup, how would you consider your family life? Was it a happy one? Childhood growing up at home?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. Have a supportive family. tight knit and all that. We'd spend time, eat dinners, go out. Just pretty good.
Are your parents now aware that depression is something that you're battling with?
I think my mom knows.
You think your mom knows? So this is not a
Yes.
conversation you have had with your mom?
Not really, but see, for the longest time, she tried to get me to see a therapist. I used to refuse.
What do you mean for the longest time? From what age was she saying see a therapist?
Maybe 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because you're seeing issues that you're
Possibly.
struggling to cope with issues.
Possibly.
Okay. And so mom tried to get you to see a therapist, that never happened. So now when you recognize that this is really something that you're battling with, have you sought help?
Yeah, she actually did make me seek help.
So what kind of therapy are you in?
It's kind of a church-based thing, but I don't do it like the rest of people. I go there, I chose the person I wanted to speak to. And I don't know, the person kind of understood me, so I was able to open up and accept that I had issues and figure out how to deal with them. Yeah.
How far have you gone when it comes to harming yourself?
I've drunk a lot, I've popped pills, yeah.
For recreation or
No, just
with
to
other
feel,
intentions?
just not to feel a thing.
What do you mean when you say not to feel a thing?
Obviously, I was not in the right frame of mind. I was feeling, I don't know, a bit low. Okay, not a bit low, a lot low. So I had like painkillers, I had like antihistamines, I had like, I don't know, cough syrup. I just swallowed everything that was there.
To
Then
numb, to
drank
feel numb.
booze, yeah.
So nobody noticed?
No. Although later, I think my sister realized.
So I want to rope in again Dr. Scholastica, and I think with Michelle, there's a new angle that's coming up. The fact that it's very easy to just walk into any chemist, get any type of drug. So she said that for her, she was self-medicating on top of now the self-cutting and everything else. So as a counselor, hearing that, because you deal a lot with young people, how can we make the parents wake up and realize that this is now an issue that they need to be alarmed about?
Yeah, we can hear a different version of it. For him, it was adverse environmental effects, having an effect on him. But for her, we cannot pin on any negative environment. She has not shared any, maybe if it's there, we've not had. But we also got to realize that not all depressions are environmentally caused. Some could have a hereditary aspect, others could have a biological aspect. And so when we seek treatment based on therapy and probably not professional therapy, then we are using like some kind of common sense to treat depression. Okay. And I may say at this point, depression is not something you treat from catharsis, from talk with one another. It needs professionals. On top of being psychological, it can also get physical.
Have you ever gone to seek professional help, like she's mentioned?
Well, before I started seeing the person I see, I actually did seek professional help.
What was the diagnosis?
I was depressed.
You were depressed. And so what sort of therapy was proposed to help you deal with your depression?
To be honest, I can't really remember because I was really rebellious about it at the time because it was not something I was willing to admit. So most of the things that were said, I just blocked them out.
Why do you think it was not something you were willing to admit that you were depressed?
I don't know. Nobody wants to admit they're depressed. Okay. I mean, nobody wants to admit that they have a mental illness and things like that.
Daktari, as a doctor hearing her say that, what would you say to her?
Yeah, I agree with her. A lot of people, those who are depressed and those who are not depressed but are having significant people around them who are depressed, do not want to accept because there is stigma associated with depression. Because basically in Africa, we don't want to accept weakness. It's not just Africa, across the world. Depression comes with a feeling of sadness, a feeling of feeling very low. But we all of us feel low at one time or another, and therefore coming to a point of accepting that for sure now this feeling low, feeling low is out of the ordinary. It takes a bit of time, and therefore that's why we hear her saying, I wasn't sure.
Remember, you can always join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima. Let us know where you're watching us from, your comments, your views, and your feedback on tonight's topic, where we are spotlighting the alarming issue of mental health amongst young people in Kenya. So we'll be right back. Don't go too far. Welcome back to Real Talk. I am Tamima. Remember, tonight we are getting real on mental health, especially affecting young people in Kenya. Remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima on Twitter, Facebook, or on Instagram. Right now, I want to introduce my next guest, Daniel Odongo, who is 26, and he is popularly known as the blind pilot. Oh, was I correct by saying that you're popularly known as the blind pilot?
Yeah, it is true, because from the history, I was born blind back on 24th August 1992 in Mumias, and I was born blind. And because of that disability of blindness, the family separated, but I had to accept the condition to be brought up by an old grandmother. Life was very tough. That really affected me, but I thank God because somebody somewhere from a Catholic church nun came over and they picked me to Kibo School for the Blind. I was class 8 in the year 2006, sat for my KCP exams, had my best results, 351 marks out of 500.
Oh, wow.
I moved to Kika School for the Blind.
You mentioned earlier that you were being raised by your grandmother. Your parents were not in the picture. So all throughout your school life, were your parents then back in the picture, or it was still your grandmother raising you?
No, my grandmother passed on after 5 years when I was taken up by a nurse. So the nurse had to take over the duty of parenting me from that time up to date.
So do you have a relationship with your biological parents?
Not really that good until last year when I had gone through university and also the same time I joined the aviation college. When they realized that I had my sight back, then they said, wow, this could be our son.
And you were blind for how many years before you got your sight back?
I was blind for 20 good years.
Okay. So how did you get back your sight?
My sight I got back when I was sick of cerebral malaria and a lot of stress during my second year.
That's second year university?
Yeah, second year university. I was sick of malaria. Then after being treated at the health unit, I was taken to Kikuyu Eye Hospital. I was treated with malaria. Then after that, I was told to go back for further treatment. Then this lady who came around saying, Dan, you know what, I want you to go back to the hospital, take surgery. I told her, no, look here, I've been living with this kind of disability. In fact, it is like my normality. I don't need you to see because I'm comfortable. The way I walk with my white cane, the way I touch, the way I can read so many things, I'm very much comfortable.
So you didn't want to be given false hope?
For what reasons after living for all these kind of years without sight?
Because it's all you knew, you were blind your entire life?
Yes. I was very comfortable and it was like my normality in that kind of a state. Now, after persisting so much, I said, okay, I'll have to go for this surgery just to please you, but don't even ask me for a single coin because I know how my family relates with me and how the community has also been relating with me. So I hope you won't lock me here in the hospital so that I don't go and finish up my degree. I said, okay, I'll see on how I can help out. I accepted, I went for this surgery, and after a very long time of surgery, between 6 in the morning up to 5 in the evening, with more than 5 doctors performing the same surgery and consulting one another, I was given a bandage. I was taken back to the ward the following day. They removed the bandage, and then when somebody could pass the hand like this, I could see something moving, but I couldn't share with my people that I was seeing anything moving in front of me.
Why couldn't you share?
No, they could ask me what is that, and I don't know. So could
also, they would ask you, can you see anything? And what would be your answer?
I can't see anything.
Yet you were seeing something?
Yes.
It's because you were not sure whether that was what seeing anything meant?
Yes.
Because you had never
ask
seen.
You, what is this? What do you answer? And I've never seen anything.
Okay, so there you are, just came from the surgery, and your vision is slowly coming back,
Yeah.
though fuzzy, not very clear. So what happens next?
When I left the theater, when I came back to the university, I wanted also to join others in the pool. But they say now, Dan, oh, your seat is supposed to be there. Why are you not sitting in front of the class? They always sit. I told them, okay, I'm also comfortable sitting next to each other, each one of you here. Little they know that I was having my sight back.
So you had not told anyone at that point
No,
that
how
you
do you
could see?
tell them? I couldn't tell them.
Why?
How do I even begin telling them that how I have my sight back? If they could ask me write then your name on a piece of paper, and you see the way we write in braille is not the same way we write in print. So I was a little bit shy and some are bright, so that if I tell them I'm seeing, they can ask me, okay, if you are seeing, write for us your name. And I do not write using a pen.
So you were fearful
Yes.
of this new life, or
Yeah.
should I say this new lease on life.
Good.
So there you were, and I can imagine when you were blind, as a young boy, as a young man, you must have been praying to God to give you your sight back.
No.
You never
no,
prayed
no,
even once?
No. It is a normality.
You never wanted your sight back
Yes.
because you had accepted I'll be blind for life.
Yes, I was so much comfortable with that because that was my normality.
So even going into the surgery, you went ile sasa jua unataka acha niende nifanye.
Yes, because
But
she
you
forced
knew-
me to be there.
Yeah.
Little did I know that she was wishing me well.
But ulijua tu hata utaenda, you'll just come out, you'll still be the same old,
Yes.
nothing will change.
Yes.
So when the change comes now, you're the first one to be in denial.
Yeah, of course, I was very happy to get that sight now that I could see things that I never wanted to share with people that I was seeing. So it took me like about 4 to 5 months. Then
4 to 5 months.
Yes, to go back
So-
to the hospital.
People who previously saw you as a blind man kept seeing you as a blind man, despite
Yes.
the fact that you could see.
Yes, to me I knew things by touching, not by seeing.
Seeing.
Yeah,
So you are learning now seeing.
yes.
So that if someone asked you what color is this, now you're like, oh, that is red.
And in fact, those people are very helpful to me. Those very small kids in the village in Madare there. Could ask them, what did you learn today? We learned alphabetical letters. How did you write letter A? No, look at this. You're so big and you know how to write even alphabetical letters.
So you would learn from the kids in
Yes.
secret?
Yes. So they could show me how to write alphabetical letter, both capital and small letters. I said, wow, that's good. Now in 2014, I went back to the same hospital to thank the doctors who performed the surgery. They were very happy and they told me, Dan, you have to go back to the theater for the second surgery. This time round, I couldn't argue so much. I said, please let me even go right now. And I went there. I got my sight back on the right eye. Then
So before it was just one eye, the
was
left
just
eye.
one
Then
eye,
after the
the left
second
eye.
surgery, it was now the right eye.
the right eye.
Okay.
Now here I'm able to see, I'm able to write with a pen. I said, no, let me confirm whether I'm able to see. I went to seniors driving school in Dandora. I was given a Leyland lorry. I was able to get my driving license BC class. Then I called my mother, told my mother, do you remember that I was born blind? Then because of my blindness, the family separated? Yes, we remember very well. Right now I'm seeing and I can drive a car in Nairobi. They said, please.
Would you say that perhaps for you this life trauma, and I say life trauma simply because you were born blind, and then in your adulthood, you get your sight back? Because it's a lot, Daktari, and maybe let me just rope in Daktari here. It's a lot for anyone.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot. When a child is born blind, the milestones they achieve are related to what capacities they already have. So he could not see, therefore he developed the touching and the feeling and not the sight. Therefore he knew nothing by sight.
Seeing, yes.
Yes, because children will learn through the sensory organs, but that one was absent. And definitely it's traumatic also for the parents, particularly in setups where no therapy is given to parents who have such children. And well, I thank God for the VC then who helped him. That tells us that when we meet people who can intervene in our situations, then we are likely to bounce back and achieve our life dreams.
And I think even with him, what
yeah.
you can catch is even when you were blind, he was still a brilliant
Yes.
child. Yeah? even with the,
Yeah.
inability of seeing, look at the marks he scored. And then even the, for lack of a better word, the craftiness of hiding from people that he was seeing, even if it was in one eye and keeping up the rules. That's a bright mind.
Yeah, that's what we call resilience.
Yeah.
He had this disability in terms of sight, but all the other capacities were present, and in his makeup, he was able to exploit those ones, which is very, very excellent of him. But I also noticed that what we might find odd, that he could not accept that he is seeing. And you can understand why. Developmentally, you're not sure of where you're going, but he's aware of where he has come from, and he has been managing. So that fear of the unknown, the fear that those opportunities he has had may just disappear. Simply now he has this sight that everyone else has.
Have you sought help? Like, did you have to go through some counseling once now your vision came back fully?
I never had to go for counseling. To me, I used to be a pastor, even in the university or the high school. I could preach what I don't know, but I just knew that I was touching people's life. And the many times I used to tell people that I want to become a pilot, they could say, Dan, I think we'll take you to Madara Mental Hospital. Reason that you are not seeing and you want to become a pilot. This is very much impossible. And I told them, time will determine, but very sure I'll become one. My first time to be on board on jumbo jet from Nairobi here to Mombasa, I remained sitting in the aeroplane. They asked me, what are you doing here? How do we help you? I told them I want to speak to the pilot. They said, no, you need to have an appointment. I told them, yes, I don't have an appointment, I agree with you, but I'll have to speak to him. They said, this won't happen. So I told them, well and good. If you are ready to carry me, go ahead. But I have to speak to him. So after hearing all that argument, he said, okay. He opened his door, he came out and he talked to me. He said, I'm Captain Duke, how do I help you? I told him, I'm Daniel Odongo, I was born blind, have my sight back, and I also want to become a pilot. I enjoyed the journey from Nairobi to Mombasa, and I also want to become one. He said, I've never had a single passenger ask me for this kind of favor. Because of asked, get my card, let's meet at Wilson Airport, and that's how my journey to become a pilot was real.
So, you're currently training, or have you finished your training?
I've done the PPL, the ground school that I'm done with. Then it's about a matter of adjusting the hours, and especially in the environment from Mathare, where you move from one office to another, selling such kind of ball pens at 100 shillings to raise some 40,000 to pay for the ground school. From ground school, you have to pay every hour you go up in the skies, 20,000. You have to pay for the navigation, you have to buy the uniforms, you have to buy the bus, you have to buy this. It is not easy. So you struggle, but along the way, with the media coverage, I had to get some support from Mama Ngina Kenyatta and also the president when we met back in 25th of May 2018.
And they're supporting your education now?
Not really, they just came in to support for a few hours, but she called CS Amina and asked her kindly to get me a scholarship as a father for the CPL. But currently, I'm still a student, hardworking, very much determined, very much focused, that very soon, from out of selling these pens, I'll also become a pilot with passion.
Dan, would you say that you have been depressed at any point?
Depression was there, especially now that I have this chance to go to the university. My brother has spoiled every plan that I had. He has gone to the donors who used to support me, the nuns. They no longer have that trust and believe in me that this issue coming up with a fake admission letter. At one point, I took rat in the house, thinking that I'll die. But I went up again, taking soapy water. It controlled the whole thing. I went for another treatment. It was well. I also, second attempt I made to get myself in the middle of the highway, but no car came knocking me. I survived, but I said, now what is this?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you walked into the road, this was in Rongai, next to Multimedia, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, right now, how are you coping? How long have you had your sight back for?
I've already had my sight back for the last 5 years.
Okay.
And as I was celebrating yesterday, they also gave me a home welcoming back to the nuns. My father and I were able to eat from the same plate, using the same spoon that was able to separate us that long time ago.
Okay. Remember, you can join the conversation via the hashtag #RealTalk with Tamima on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. Let us know what your views, comments, and feedback are on tonight's show and topic. Right now, we'll be going on a very quick break, but when we come back, I have one more guest, and then we'll be taking questions from the audience on the issue that we are spotlighting tonight here on Real Talk. Welcome back to Real Talk, and remember tonight we are talking about mental health. And earlier on I had with me Phil, I've spoken to Michelle as well, we've spoken to Dan about his amazing story of how he got his sight back. And now I want to introduce my next guest. So Innocent, you're 25 currently, and you've in the past had suicide attempts. Yes. Depression is something that you've been constantly battling with. Tell us your story.
I've grown up with a single mom. My dad left us when I was about 12 years. We came home one day and he didn't come back. He even left the clothes at home. He just went and went.
He disappeared?
Yes.
Have you seen him since?
He disappeared without a trace. Yes. But I've never gone into details to look after him because if he was to be in our lives, he could be there, so there's no need for looking for him. So fast forward to campus. I married quite young. I married
young?
When I was in second year.
How old were you?
21.
21.
Yeah.
And you had a wife, not a girlfriend?
Girlfriend come wife.
Okay.
We even went to the AG.
At 21?
Yes.
How old was she?
20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a family. I have a daughter. She's called Talia. So coming home one day, she also disappeared without a trace.
So how old was Talia at that point?
She was 1.2.
1.2?
Yeah.
And at that point also, how long had you been together with Mama Talia?
More than 6 years.
More than 6 years?
Yeah.
And what do you mean when you say she disappeared without a trace? Had you met her family? Did you go look for her there?
She moved to another place. I called the mom. The mom said she's not at home, but she knows where she is. And she didn't want to be with me. So I asked about the kid. She said she'll tell the kid the daddy died.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were able to now get in touch with her afterwards?
After like 5 months.
And after you got in touch with her?
Through the mom.
Through the mom?
Yeah.
Why did Mama Talia say she left?
My drinking tendencies. And I used to work in a club. Yeah. Sometimes I didn't used to come home. Yeah.
So when you were in marriage,
yeah,
you would stay at the club drinking?
Working.
Working?
Yeah.
So you didn't have a drinking problem?
Later on, after she went.
After she left?
Yeah.
So why did she feel that when you were together that you had a drinking problem?
I was drinking, but I didn't have a drinking problem.
So, but you admit you were drinking?
Yeah.
Whether it was a problem or not, that is now subjective. And I'm going to rope in Daktari here on this one.
Yeah.
So the effect of your wife living with your child is now what led you into full-blown depression?
Yes. I even lost my job. I deferred my schooling because I had no funding. I was schooling myself. After a while, it's when my mom noticed there's a problem. She was told by a friend, I saw your kid somewhere and it's not looking good. So that's when my mom came, picked me up, and I went to stay with her for like 4 months.
So in those 4 months,
yeah,
did you seek professional help for you to be diagnosed as now clinically depressed?
No. My mom and the uncles, they were the only people talking to me. And my mom's pastor.
So have you sought any sort of professional help since?
No.
And I understand that there are occasions where you contemplated taking your own life?
I tried.
You tried?
I tried.
What did you do to yourself?
I took a bunch of pills with whiskey.
And whiskey? Once?
Once, but it didn't work.
Okay. How would you rate your state of mind? Are you healthier, happier now?
I'm not good per se, because I still miss my daughter. So I'm not okay until I see her.
So that is the pain that you're struggling with? So have you reached out to Mama Talia to tell her that maybe if the two of you can't be together, you still want to be a father to your daughter?
Yeah.
And what does she say about that?
She doesn't want anything to do with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just drop in Daktari here, because you can see that Innocent still has a lot of pain when it comes to this particular issue. So how can you help him cope?
Daniel has faced some form of rejection. Innocent has expressed to us that the father walked out of him. It's like he tore himself out of them, and you can hear it as. So he's carrying the burden of himself and the mother. He has not told us whether the family has others. Then comes the wife, another rejection as he puts it, and that already is a lot of pain. But of course, like we say, blood is thicker than water. He's still very much attached to the daughter.
Innocent, maybe for you, is it that you don't want your daughter to grow up feeling how you felt?
The same way I felt. I don't want her to miss the father figure that I missed. Yeah.
Things can be very cyclic if not treated, because already he had some pain that he was dealing with. The father had gone out of his life, and although he's not accepting that he had issues, he may not be able to unearth issues in his own life, because he would tend to be subjective. It is him experiencing these things. And that is what happens when we do not receive treatment, and when we seek help from people who are already part of us.
Maybe, Innocent, if I had to ask you, if today you were asked to talk to a professional counselor, would you do it?
I would.
Right, so let's take some questions from the audience.
So thank you, Tamima. My name is Ibrahim, and my question goes to Innocent. Did you meet your wife's parents before going to the AG to register your marriage? Thank you.
Yes.
So they were supportive of the marriage?
They were supportive of the relationship, but they didn't know we were getting married.
So the AG thing was you guys being young and in love?
And stupid in love.
Do you think there's ever hope that she'll allow you to be back in your daughter's life?
Yeah, I pray.
Has she put forward conditions like maybe I need you to get sober, stop drinking, get a job?
When she was leaving, she left a letter on the table. She said, fix your life first before you entangle us in your mess.
So are you working towards fixing your life, not even just for them, for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you've been at a point where you've attempted to take your own life, what steps have you taken to ensure that at least you have a good support system and you never find yourself there again?
I quit alcohol.
So you don't drink at all?
I don't drink anymore.
Okay, so it's a great first step. I think Dr. agrees with me on that, yeah? Okay, let's take another question.
Thank you, Tamima. My name is Silas. My question goes to Philip. He said that he was making a flight to Australia and South Africa. Could you just tell us who was getting for the expense?
Yeah, I think, Phil, you need to fill us in. There were some gaps in your story because, like you mentioned that your dad comes from a very wealthy family and he passed on, so you didn't get any chance to inherit anything from him. So up till now, how do you earn a living? How was your family back?
My mom was rich.
Oh, your mom was rich. Okay, so you got inheritance from your mom.
Can't talk about that on TV, but it's complicated.
So, but from a financial point of view, you're not struggling. You're comfortable.
I never struggle. I actually give charity. I'm here for a reason.
Okay. Yeah?
Thank you, Tamima. My name is Anthony. My question goes to the counselor. When it comes to hereditary depression, does it get transmitted to the offspring even though it's treated? Thank you.
Thank you. When we talk of hereditary depression, it simply means that the child has inherited some genes that makes him or her more likely predisposed to depression. And if that is coupled with adverse environmental conditions, then what was inherited can manifest to a depression. It's not always that, but if the environment is adversive, then that may be manifested, and the treatment then would be for this particular child, and most of our depression will manifest at adolescence, is really able to recognize when they are going down, and people around them give them the support, and for him or her to recognize what he's feeling and get the support. And if it is fear, then there'll be medication. If it is not very severe, then psychoeducation will help this person cope. And that is why depression is not to be just managed by anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe just on that, maybe let's come back to Michelle and Phil. Phil, I know that you have found ways to cope with it because you're very keen on your mental health. And one of the ways that you cope is through your art. And we have some of that here in studio with us today. So this is something that Phil did. And glass art, right?
Yeah, glass engraving.
Glass?
Glass engraving.
Glass engraving. And you did this by yourself. This is Michael Jackson, guys.
Yeah.
And you do this also, do you earn a living from this, or this is just art for fun?
No, I don't earn a living from that. I think I just put out my energy into work, whether it's art, that's also music, whether it's to talk to people. I do that just because, I think everything you do, this is your time, and your time is money. But I don't really consider that part of a living.
Okay. But
it's part of a movement.
It helps you cope.
Part of a movement. I feel good when people appreciate and learn from the art, just like the pyramids. I mean, they built in such accurate measure, but they speak a different language.
Okay, and for you, Michelle, how do you cope?
I read a lot. I listen to music. Whenever I'm feeling low, I go for walks. I love animals, so anytime I hang out with my dogs, so to say, or I go to a place where there are animals, I feel good.
Okay. So obviously this is a topic that we cannot exhaust in this one show tonight, but I do hope that today we have touched somebody out there. You've learned something. If you're a parent, be more vigilant, recognize the signs in your child. If you're a sister or brother, look out for your fellow sisters or brothers. Know when they're struggling, lend a helping hand. And the most important thing that I think Daktari has said here tonight is sometimes we all need to recognize when we are not enough and ensure that we get our children, our brothers, our sisters, the necessary help that they need from qualified professionals, because mental health issues, unfortunately, are now on the rise. And probably it has a lot to do with the kind of lives that we are living right now. But the best part of it is if it's recognized early and you get the person help, they can definitely live a very nice, full, happy life. Well, that's it from me, Tamima, tonight. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, I am Tamima, the host of Real Talk with Tamima, and I would like to invite you to be part of my audience or a guest on the show. All you have to do, if you have a story that is very personal, very powerful, and you want to inspire other people, please reach out to the show via the email address on your screen or the number as well.